Now, we're going to step into the fulfillment of the fall feast of the Lord. As we mentioned last month and at the beginning of this, that the time period between the fulfillment of the spring feast and the fall feast is the time of the Gentiles. This is when blindness in part happens to Israel. And that blindness in part is what opens the doors for the Gentiles to come in. But the Gentiles are supposed to get attached to the root, where the sap and nourishment flows from the root, the Hebrew roots, not Jewish roots. Jewish refers to Judaism, and it is a man-made religion. Jew, Yehudian, of course, it's a tribe. It's a people who dwell in a particular area. But modern-day Judaism is ancient Phariseeism. Phariseeism is what Yeshua demanded that his followers do not follow. Do not follow the takanot and the maasim of the Pharisees. They say they follow Moses, but they don't do what Moses says to do. We are commanded not to follow what they do, because they have added to the commandments, they've taken away from the commandments, and that's the foundational commandment in all of the Torah. You do not add, you do not subtract. Because once you add or subtract, you no longer have the commandments of God, and you no longer have the revelation of the Almighty. You have a man-made religion, and it goes absolutely wild from there. And so now, when we come to this end of this time of the Gentiles, this is the time that he opens the eyes of Israel. It's already beginning. A remnant is already waking up, but nothing like what is going to be transpiring when the initial fulfillment, the intermediate fulfillment of the fall feast take place. In Leviticus chapter 23, verse 23, we now step right past the time of the Gentiles, and now Yehovah spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying this, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, you shall have a Sabbath, a memorial, a zecher, a memorial of the blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation. This is taking us back to when the trumpets blew at Mount Sinai. This really, in order to have this memorial, the blowing of trumpets, we have to go back and read the entire book of Deuteronomy that goes over this again and again and again and again. Because we're not given all the details in Exodus when it actually takes place. He made known his acts unto the children of Israel, but he made known his ways unto Moses. And in Deuteronomy, his ways are being articulated in full. Just as Moses was able to understand his ways, when we read Deuteronomy, we understand his ways. And there is more scripture concerning this day of trumpets in Deuteronomy than any other place in the scripture. And it must be read from beginning to end, because the beginning of Deuteronomy is detailing the day of trumpets, and it takes it over and over throughout the entire book. Now, this is to be a Kadosh Mikra, a holy rehearsal. And it's the 1st day of the 7th month. That is when we will have a Sabbath. And this is how it has been done in the land of Israel for time immemorial, until the temple is destroyed, until the Sanhedrin left in exile, when the edict of Constantine was to kill all the members of the Sanhedrin who were, from this point in time, ordained into the Sanhedrin. He wanted to get rid of the Creator's calendar, and so Constantine effectively did that, because now we're not in the land to observe the Aviv barley, which begins the year. We are not going to be in the land of Israel to sight the new moon, and for the new moon, the month to be heralded. And so now all the feast and when they're going to be celebrated are all in disarray. But what we did initially was, when the end of the 6th month and the moon is waning, at that point, and the moon disappears as the sun rises, the last sliver of the old moon disappears in the light of the morning sun, we know that 1.5 to 2.5 days later, we will see the new moon. That's when everyone stops what they're doing. They get prepared. The clothing is all washed out. It is all bleached out. It's put out in the sun. It is then set aside and prepared. The food is prepared ahead of time. Everything is set, waiting for this moment. And so a day and a half later, watching when the sun sets, and is the new moon visible? If it is not visible, the end of the 29th day, then it is by default a 30-day month. And so if it is seen that 29th day, at the end of the 29th day, as soon as it is sighted, that is when those who have sighted it rush up to the Temple Mount. They are called to come up onto the Temple Mount by the high priest when the gate is open down below, and when they see that there are at least 2 witnesses, then the high priest is then alerted. The high priest stands on the Temple Mount and shouts down, "Come up here, come up hither." Those 2 witnesses go up before the elders, before the Sanhedrin, and they give the report of the sighting of the first sliver of the new moon. When it is then understood that they have accurately sighted the new moon and they give their specific testimony, that is when the high priest shouts out, "Sound the trumpets," and the trumpets blow from the Temple Mount, from the place of trumpeting. Over on the side of the Mount of Olives, at the peak of the Mount of Olives, that is where they have the wood set, and the Levite with the torch, and he puts a torch to the pile of wood, and that flame goes up into the sky, and from mountaintop to mountaintop throughout the land of Israel, when they hear the trumpets blow and they see that signal fire, they blow the trumpets, they light their signal fires, and from mountaintop to mountaintop throughout the land of Israel and beyond, the signal fires are lit to indicate this is the first day of the month. And at that moment, which is now the 6th month has passed, when that first sliver of the new moon is seen, at that moment that the trumpet sounds, it is a high Sabbath. If there are Arab women and Israeli women out in the field, Arab women just keep on working. It's harvest time. But the Israelis, those who are God's people, those people will then stop what they're doing. They will go home. They will bring out the meal that has been prepared ahead of time. They will dress themselves in their white linen garments, their haluks, and that is the Sabbath in which the festivities begin right at that moment. Ladies and gentlemen, the Day of Trumpets is the feast that occurs on a day and hour that no man knows.